Hello everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we are going to be creating this furniture blueprint that you can use for dressers and desks and pretty much anything that you want to have multiple drawers like this to be able to interact with and open and close them. So it should be a fun little tutorial. We're going to get into it. But first, if you can, be sure to leave me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps the channel out. Thank you guys so much for all of your amazing support. If you want to support me further, you can check out the links below. We have some great assets that we sell on Fab. And you can also check out the Patreon that we have. It's really a great way to support me. And I really, really appreciate you guys so much. All right, let's get into it, guys. Okay, so there are a couple of things that we need to talk about before we actually get into this. There are a couple of prerequisites that you'll need to make sure that you are caught up here before we move on. The first is I'm going to be using our first person character that we created, and I will leave a link to this video below so that you can see exactly how I set up our first person character. You can, of course, use your own character as well. And then we're also going to be using our interaction system that we set up, which this is a very basic interaction. So if you already have one set up, you can totally use that as well. But if you are following along, or if you want to just set it up exactly the way that I set up, I will leave links to the videos that I created these so that you can have the exact same thing that I have here. So if you were caught up now and you're using the same one that I created, or if you have your own, there's one thing that we need to do in our interaction interface right now. Our interaction interface is just the most basic thing that you could possibly have. Just a very simple function that just says interaction, no inputs, no outputs. That's literally it. So we need to add one thing to our interaction interface, and that is going to be an input here. And it's going to be called components. And it will be primitive component here, object reference. Okay, and that is all we will need. We'll go ahead and compile and save. Now you'll notice that when we do that, we now have this pin here for a component. And also, if we look at something like our item that we created or anything that we have with that we use this interaction interface, we now have this component pin here. Now, we don't have to use this for anything, but this is going to be very handy for our dresser and the drawers here that we want to create. Now, we do need to do a little something here. So in our line trace, this is all fine, but on our out hit, we are checking to see if we hit a hit actor, or we're checking which hit actor we hit, but we now also want to see what component we hit, okay? So I can drag out of here, and I can just actually drop this onto my return node, and then that will automatically create an output. You could manually create an output as well, but that just makes it easier. All right, so now if you're not doing this in a function like this and you're just creating an event, then your return node is essentially the interaction here. So when we compile this, and we'll save as well, when we go back here, you'll now see that our line trace function has this hit component. We're going to drag that into the component on the interaction. And so now we will be able to see what we are actually hitting. Okay, good. So we have got that set up, and we are finished working with our first person character and our line trace and interaction and all of that. So now let's go ahead and bring in the mesh for my dresser. So I'm going to create a new folder here, call this dresser. All right, so I have 3 different parts for our dresser here. Go ahead and import these. Just take a look at these here. So we have kind of the shell of the dresser, and then we have 2 different drawers, one smaller, so It's made to have 3 different drawers up there and then 2 sets of 2 drawers on each side there. All right, so we won't worry about placing this all nice and pretty right now because we'll need to actually create our blueprint for that. Let me also just get the textures that I have. So just bring those in to my textures folder. Okay, import those. And as always, we need to open up our ORM, uncheck sRGB, go ahead and save that. And yeah, the rest of those look good. All right, now I'm just going to grab one of my other materials that I've created. These are all material instances from my master material, which again, if you want to know how to create that master material, you can check, I don't remember which video we created that in. It's a very, very basic master material. I'll try and find the video and link it, but it's literally just 3 textures that we're using here. So we're just going to call this MI dresser. Okay, and then let me find our dresser meshes. Go ahead and open all of these. I think I can actually do this. All right, and then we want to apply that material that we just made to all 3 of these. Now, obviously, the materials are messed up because we need to actually add our textures. So let's do that. Textures. Let me just search for dresser, base color, normal, and ORM. Okay. Now, one thing that I see that I need to do, actually, this will give me a chance to show you the master material if you need to create this. Let's see, did that open? Yeah, it did. All right, so I need to just check two-sided on this. And then here's the master material if you want to create this, if you don't already have this. Again, it's literally just 3 textures. These are all just converted to parameters so that I can create a material instance. This is just a base color tint that you can change the color of the tint if you want to. And that's it. All right, so go ahead and close and save that. And now this looks right. Okay, so let's save all. Go ahead and close that. And let's go to our blueprints. And I'm going to create, I'm actually going to do a new folder here and call this furniture. And then we will do a new blueprint. We'll call it actor, and we'll name this BP dresser. We'll say 01 just in case we have multiple dressers. Okay, so we need to, first of all, just import our meshes. So let's go ahead and do that. Bring those in. And now these are going to go on the side here. Let me move this down to 1. And we'll try and get this lined up here. Okay, I think that looks pretty good there. This one imported right in the center, so I can just move it straight up. And then we just need to move it out on the Y, maybe 3 units there. All right, and then I want to let's actually kind of rename this just so we can keep track of what's going on. So let's call this drawer, or let's say small drawer, and I'm going to call it 02. And the reason for that is because I'm going to have 1, 2, 3. It's not super necessary that you do that, but it's just going to make it a little bit easier to keep track of things. So this one is 03, so we'll move it over here. And I want to be careful here. You can see that these are just overlapping. that is going to cause an issue with our collision. So we want to be careful that we don't have these overlapping. So I'm just going to move it over till we have a little bit of space there. I think that's good. And then I'm going to duplicate this one again. Control D to duplicate. And instead of 0, 4, I will call that 0, 1. And then we'll move this one over this way. Whoops. Whoa. Okay. So I've got a bug that's happening. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you guys. I think it's maybe a Windows bug, but I'm pressing my right mouse button right now, and that is acting like I'm pressing D on my keyboard. I have no idea how or why that happens sometimes. I'm just going to restart the engine really quick and see if that fixes it. Okay, we are back, and everything is working as normal. That is really weird. Let me know, does that ever happen to anyone else? Sometimes that happens to me in like actual games, and it's always the weirdest feeling. I think it is maybe a Windows bug, maybe like partially a Windows bug and partially like a hardware bug. I don't know. Very weird. Anyway, I am just setting these up. So we'll duplicate this one, or actually, let's move this one up. So we'll have this one be in that position there. Okay, I think that looks good. And then we will, I'm going to rename this one to large drawer. And then I will duplicate this, so Control D, and we'll just move that one straight over. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that's overlapping. Let's move it over one more. I think that should be good. That's pretty close, so we might have to adjust that a little bit, but I think that should be good. Control D, this will be number 3. We'll go down and maybe like right there. And then I'm going to go straight over. Try and take my time and really get these lined up. Okay. And then one more. That will go straight over. Okay. All right, now that looks good, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to need to fix our collision or take a look at our collision. So first of all, let's open up the dresser 01. So if we take a look at collision, if we look at simple collision, you'll see that this just has box collision on here, and this is going to cause an issue for us because if we want to interact with the drawers, the collision on this is going to block that. So what we need to do is, this is always a little confusing. We need to remove the collision, but then if we go down here, and if you scroll down to where you see collision preset, collision complexity, if we change that to use complex collision as simple, then if we still have show simple collision turned on, you're now going to see that this has applied the complex collision, which is just a more complex calculation, and it's applied the collision to this in a much better way. Okay, so now it still has collision, but these open areas will be able to have our line trace go through. Okay, so we need to do that for each one of these, probably, because I'm going to assume that this one is also going to have, this, and that's going to give us some issues. So again, we will remove collision and then use complex as simple, and then we'll do that on this one as well. By the way, you don't have to do it in this order. So like if I show simple collision, I can go down, say use complex as simple, but you can see that the green part, which is the simple collision, is still on there. So again, we have to click on remove collision. Don't ask me why it doesn't say like remove simple collision. I feel like that would be much more clear because it still has collision. So yeah, that's a little confusing. But anyway, we are good. Just make sure that you save all of those. And now let's actually test this out. So, or well, actually, there's one more thing that we need to do. So this is going to be an interactable object. So we need to add our interaction interface to it. So we're going to go to class settings. Under implemented interfaces, we're going to add BPI interaction. Okay, compile. And then let's go to our event graph. We'll delete these because we don't need them. And I'm just going to double click on my interaction and we will get this. So what I want to show you is let's do a print string. And we're going to use this component. I'm going to plug this component into the string, and that's going to convert this into the name of whatever component we're hitting, and then it's going to print that out. And so now, if we set everything up right, if I grab my dresser, pull this out. Hey guys, so my audio cut out here, and all I'm really showing here is that when we're pressing E, then we are able to interact with the individual components there. But the main thing is that we can now use this to see exactly what component we are hitting, and then by using that, we can determine which drawer we want to open. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to use a custom event here. So custom events, and we'll just call this open drawer. And we want to call open drawer on the interact here. So we're going to do open drawer. I'm doing it this way just to keep it a little bit cleaner. And then on our open drawer, we also want to have an input here, and it is going to be components. And then it'll be primitive components. Okay, same thing as our interaction. And then we can just plug this into here. That will just pass that along for us, okay? All right, so this is kind of similar to the way that we created a door. If you guys remember that, or if you watched that, we're going to use a timeline here. So we're going to add timeline. We'll call this open drawer TL. Okay. And let's go ahead and open this up, and we're going to make the track length. This will be the time that it takes to open the drawer. I want this to be pretty fast. I'm going to say 0.5 seconds. And then we're going to add a float track. And we can call this alpha, or you can call that whatever you want. And then we want to right click and add 2 keys on here. If you've ever watched a tutorial, you've probably seen this, but I will go through it anyway. Our first one is going to be at time 0, value 0. And our second one is going to be at time, whatever the time you put up here. So for me, that's 0.5. And the value is going to be 1. Okay, and then we can hit these 2 little things here to kind of center everything. And then I'm going to shift select to select both of these, right click on one of them and set that to auto, just to give me this nice kind of smoother curve here. All right, and we'll compile and save, and then I can close that, and we should be done with that. All right, so what we want to do is we want to use this timeline to move one of these components, which will be one of these drawers, a certain direction over a certain amount of time. And if we take a look at these, so let's look at this one. So first of all, we can see that we, let's make sure that you're on local for the transform here. And we can see that we want to move it out this way. And then I would say maybe 40 We want to move it to 40. So if we look over here, we're actually starting at 3, so that's very important. And then we're moving it to 40. And then I think all of these are going to be starting at 3. They are. And I think 40 for all of these is going to be fine. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about how we're going to do that. So what we need to do is from our component, remember our component is giving us the printout of what we are hitting, which drawer we're hitting. So from the component, we can actually get the relative location. Then we also want to, from our component, we want to set the relative location. Okay, so this is going to be kind of the end part down here, and I'm going to add just a couple of reroute nodes to try and keep this clean because this will get kind of messy quick if we're not careful. All right, and we only want to move that on the Y, and we want to do that over the time of our timeline. So the way that we do that is with a lerp, and the alpha is going to go into alpha here. And the A is going to be our start point. So if you remember, that is our start point right here, which is going to be 3. So we're going to type 3. And then we said that we wanted to move it to 40. So we're going to type 40 here. And then if we split our struct pin right here, we can get access to these variables here, and we can plug this into the Y because that's what we want to actually move. Okay. All right, so the other thing that we need to do, the reason that I got the relative rotation here is because we're setting the relative rotation, and if we just leave this at 0, if we leave this at 0, 0, then it's going to set the location to 0 and 0 on the Z here. So, and I can't just copy and paste. If we were doing just one of these, I could copy and paste these, but since each component has a different location here, that's why we are getting the relative location of that component. And I'm going to split that struct pin, and then we need to know the X, and that will be the new. Oh, I just realized I did rotation there. Okay, hold on. Don't do rotation. Relative location, set relative location. Split that. Okay. So again, that will go into the Y, and then a relative location on the X will go into the X there, and then Z into Z. Okay. And then again, I'm just going to try and keep this kind of tidy. So just add a couple of reroute nodes here. Something like that. Okay, so before we go any further, let's just see what happens. I always like to just kind of test things as we go. All right, so I'm just going to press E on one of these, and nothing happens. All right, let's see what's going on. Okay, so that's pretty obvious. I forgot to hook up our pin here. That obviously needs to be connected out of the update. So we open the drawer, runs through our timeline, and as it updates, it moves the location on the Y from 3 to 40. All right, so let's try that again. Play here. Just going to hit E. Okay. So that actually works. Let's try another one. All right, so that is instantly setting it. That is because we need to change this to play from start. Because what's happening is the first time that we run through this, it's playing this. It's playing this timeline. but the second time it is skipping this because this timeline is already played, and it's just going straight to set the location. So if we change this to play from start, I believe that will probably fix that. Let's try it out. Play from here. Okay. Try this one. Try one of these. Okay. So that's looking pretty good, but now you'll obviously see that if we try to hit it again, it's just snapping back and then pulling back out. And so we need a way to basically reverse what we've done here. All right, so how can we do that? So there's a couple of things that we'll need to do to get that working. The way that I'm going to do this, I'm going to highlight all of this, make a little bit of space here, and I'm going to pull this back. All right, so I want to check. I want to check if our y is greater than. If our y is greater than whatever we are setting the b here to. So if it is greater than, or actually, if it's greater than 39, let's say that, greater than 39, I guess we could have done greater than or equal to. But anyway, we'll say one less of what we're setting that to here. Then we will run a branch here. Plug this up here. And if it is greater than 39, then that means that we actually want to reverse this, or reverse from end. So just to make this a little bit cleaner, because I would have to plug it up like this, which is fine, but just to make it a little bit cleaner, I can get a not Boolean, and then this will make sense here. So now we can just plug this into play from start. And then again, if this is, so when we run this through, it's checking, okay, is this greater than 39? When we are starting, this is less than 39. So no, not, and then that is true because again, we're using the not Boolean. So it plays from start. If it is greater than 39, meaning that we have set that to 40, then this will be false and we will play reverse from ends. Okay. And I'm just going to move that up just to straighten that. Let's also bring this guy back here. Okay, so compile and save. And now let's take a look at that and see how that looks. All right, so play. Now if I hit that again, it goes back. Play. Okay. Now we have another problem. If I just spam E, then we're going to get this, and we're going to start getting some problems here. So the way that we can fix that is we need to check if we are currently opening the drawer. And if we are currently opening the drawer, then we do not want to be able to run this event. All right, so what we can do is we can just create a very simple variable called drawer opening. And we can just run a check right here. So we'll get that branch. By the way, someone mentioned this, and this is a good tip. To get a branch, you can just hold down the B key and just click and get branches like that. Really, the only reason that I don't do that is because it's just become a habit, especially when I'm creating a branch from a variable like this. I almost find it's faster to do this, drag this out, get, and then just type branch, especially because I can do it with one hand. I just, do BRA, and then I've got branch there, and then it's automatically hooked up, as opposed to me holding B, clicking, and then going down and getting this, and then snapping it on there. Honestly, it's probably about the same speed, but it's one of those things that I just got used to doing it that way. But I do want to mention that because it is a good tip. There's a lot of little things like that you can do. For example, when you want to set a variable, you can drag it out and hold Alt, and then that will automatically do that instead of getting the variable. Lots of different things like that. I could probably spend hours going through all of the shortcuts. Maybe I'll try to put together like a most used shortcuts or something like that video for you guys. Let me know if that would be something you guys are interested in. All right. Anyway, so what we want to do here is we want to check if we are opening the drawer. And normally, so the first time that we hit this, this should be false. And so what we want to do is we want to set this. So I'm going to hold Alt. On false, we want to set that to true. And then we'll continue on with our branch here. Just move this over to get a little bit more space there. And then when we finish this timeline, I'm going to need a little bit more space here. Once this is finished, we are going to, I'm just going to duplicate that with Control D. We want to set this back to true. Okay. So compile and save. And let's try that out. So now if I press E over and over and over, it's not going to let me spam that. And everything is working great. All right, so I actually just found a little bit of a bug that we need to fix before we finish this up. So everything is working fine with our drawers, but if we click on the actual dresser here, then the entire thing moves. And that is obviously not what we want. The reason that is happening is because we are telling it to open the drawer on any single component in here. And obviously this dresser is part of that component. So what we need to do is basically ignore that. And there's probably, there's a few different ways that you could do this. There's probably a better way to do it than what I'm going to do. If anybody has any suggestions, let me know how you would go about fixing this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this, and then I'm going to type get object name. And then I just want to compare what we're getting here. So if I get, if this returns the same name as this, then we don't want to run this basically. So we'll get object name here as well. And then we'll just do, let's see, equal exactly string. And so we can compare these two. And so if these equal the same thing, if this is true, we'll get a branch. And if this is true, then we don't want to run the code. So we only want to run this on false. And that should fix our bug here. So let's try it now. So now if I click on the dresser, nothing is happening. If I click on a drawer, then that is working. And we are good to go. I hope you guys found that useful. If you did, please be sure to leave me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out other ways to support me below. We have a great community and a Patreon that you can check out. And I also sell some assets on the Fab Marketplace. And yeah, I think that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much. I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Bye, guys.